There we go. Nice to see you all. I'm going to tell you a story of a client who helped go from $20,000 a month profit to $250,000 a month in profit through coaching. I'll also tell you I had a client who grew their business 2,600% in a handful of years and maintained a 50% profit margin while doing it. Another client during the pandemic, actually. And the reason I bring that up is so many businesses like theirs were struggling at that time, but we helped them avoid shutting their doors and instead grew their revenues by 50% and their profit by 195%. And so if that's interesting to you, this one's going to be a purely business conversation. I do a lot of these talking about life. I'll do one in about 15, 20 minutes talking about growth and mindset, but this one's pure business. So once again, what if I told you one of our clients grew their business by over 2,600% in just a couple of years while maintaining a 50% profit margin? Absolutely astonishing. I'll tell you a story in a few minutes about a client who went from $20,000 a month when I first met him to we got him up over $250,000 a month of profit in his business. And the crazy part is I didn't know anything about his business and I didn't really do much to his business. It was all psychology. That's what I was great at. I helped fine tune him and his business took off. Finally, we'll go through a quick case study of what we did to help out our client in Louisiana. They grew their revenues by 50%, their net profit by 195%. So my belief, if you want a metaphor, coaching is like wind in the sail. The boat or business might float without it, but if you want speed, direction, power, you want to go somewhere, you need the right wind at the right time from the right source. And that's what we provide. I'll give you a few examples of why coaching moves the needle more than ever. Um, if you want this to be instead of anecdotal and just a few case studies, but you want empirical, so things that are actually measured. Research shows sales coaching improves quota attainment by 28%. Win rates increase by 31%. When you blend both training, so training is where you go learn the skills, what to say, when to say it, how to say it. You learn the technical stuff. Coaching is where you're held accountable. We'll go through a flywheel in a second so you understand how coaching works. And most people truthfully just don't understand it. So we'll show you how it actually works. But when you blend the training and coaching, it's 4 times more effective than training alone. So if you're a company that's doing sales trainings where you're training your people how to sell better or training your team how to do what they do better, and you're not applying coaching, you're missing out on 4x the ROI you could be getting from that same training. Personalized deal specific coaching. So this is really interesting. And this one comes from a CSO Insights. But if you have deal specific coaching, that means coaching tailored to the type of business you're doing. So they understand the type of transactions you do. I was talking to a friend last night and he goes, it's really different in our world. There's some people selling widgets for a few $100. We have guys that he coaches on his team who are bringing in $25 to $50 million at a time into the business. Totally different type of coaching, totally different psychology, totally different approach, totally different cadence and timing of how those deals work. So this is personalized deal specific type coaching, increases 8% more annual revenue when you get it right. It's remarkable. So 28% better on attaining goals. Win rate goes up 31%. Coaching and training increases the effectiveness by 4x. And personalized deal specific coaching adds 8% more annual revenue, according to the research. So a lot of people ask, how does coaching actually work? Simple metaphor. If you understand the concept of a flywheel, how it all gets the momentum going, it's really simple to think about. The first piece here is coaching helps you get extreme clarity. So if you want to write it down, the first one's clarity. Growth flywheel. The first piece is it helps you get extreme clarity. What that means helps you get specific on the metrics, the goals, the margins. What specifically are you aiming for? If you're a CEO or entrepreneur, and you don't have a dashboard that you can see all your daily metrics of the most important KPAs, which are key performance activities that drive KPIs, the key performance indicators, the input and the output. If you're not measuring both daily and you don't have standards for the KPIs, meaning specific activities to a certain standard that must be driven every day and the result that must be obtained every day. If you don't have both of those, you're blind. If you want a copy of a dashboard, just DM me dashboard. I'll send you one so you can take a peek. Strategy is the second piece. So clarity is the first one. Strategy is the second one. Strategy is when you figure out how are you going to actually get to the target? What's your roadmap? What are your mile markers? If you're running a marathon, the vision is to cross the finish line. Congrats, you know where you're going. The mile markers are when you start setting pace. How quickly should you get to mile 1? How quickly will you get to mile 2? What if you show up behind schedule? What if you show up ahead of schedule? What's the plan? How do you navigate? What do you do from there? That's the offers, the channels, the follow-up, the system, the strategy. So number 1 is clarity. Number 2 feeds into strategy. Number 3, accountability. Regular check-ins. How often are you meeting? How often are you meeting with a coach to check in on your plan? If you were a tennis player, you'd have your coach sit with you and watch you play at the game. You'd have your coach sit with you and watch you review your footage. I remember when I was a kid, Andre Agassi came over to the house to work with my dad, and they sat down and they watched his footage to see how they could understand his mindset to help adjust him. And he went from struggling to number 1 in the world quickly after that session they did together and the work they did. So accountability. Are you regularly checking in with your coach to fine-tune your process? Number 4, skill optimization. So the coach isn't there, the performance coach isn't there to teach you the skill, but they're there to help you get better at it. I always use this example. If someone came to me and we were at the Olympic Training Center in California, I'm not there to teach them how to run. They should know sales techniques before they arrive. I'm there to get them to run faster than they've ever ran in their whole life. I'm there to get them to run faster, jump higher, and be more consistent. I was working with one of the athletes there. I remember she was running the hurdles. She was doing the high jump. She was doing all these things. And I noticed something where she actually taught me this. She said, the race is won after you clear the final hurdle. The distance between your foot landing after the final hurdle and the finish line is the whole race. Not the beginning, not the hurdles. The whole race is the last foot that touches and across that line. And I said, cool. Teach me about your psychology of that last sprint. Walk me through it. And we started working on skill optimization, not the mechanics of how her body was working yet. We first worked on the psychology. How do you become a dominant force up here for that last piece of the sprint? How do you see it in your mind thousands of times, mental rehearsal before you do it? How do you engage your body so that all the practice, all the exertion of energy, the moment our foot hits the ground, our energy goes to the moon and we're lit up? That is the supercharged version of us that takes off at that moment. How do we create that internal schema, that internal map, so that by the time her foot hits the ground, she's gone like lightning? And we worked on it over and over and over and over and over again, and we increased her skill. I didn't teach her how to run better. I didn't get her ankle and foot in alignment. That was her actual running coach job. I was psychology. I'm up here and in here. Her heart and energy or effort, and her psychology, what she thinks about and what she's feeding her mind, what she's saying to herself. We had to fix some self-talk. We had to get rid of some mental trash. We had to clear up all the excess energy of doubt or fear and get it all aligned to get her really moving. So skill optimization, that's the mindset, the behavioral habits, the routines that keep them at their best so they perform at their best. Finally, the execution feedback loop. This is real-time adjustments, real results. So as we're working with them, we're giving them real-time feedback, what's working and what's not, to fine-tune them. So I'll say it from the beginning if you want it from the top. Porcelain, nice to see you. It is live. So number 1, the right coaching will help them get extreme clarity on their metrics, their goals, and margins. Number 2, strategy, their plan of how they're going to get there. Number three, accountability, regular check-ins to hold them accountable to do what they said they were going to do. Your team should have a dashboard. Every person should have green, yellow, red. Every single day, they should be seeing how they're performing. Every week, it should be very clear who's in the green, who's in the yellow, who's in the red, and what's causing that. Four, skill optimization, mindset, behavioral habits to keep them at their best. We're not here to teach them how to run. We'll get them, if they know how to run, we're going to get them to be better at running than they've ever been in their life. And number five, close feedback loops where they're getting regular fine-tune. If you get that flywheel in place as far as sales, it's incredible what happens. I told you all our results, and I never once taught them what to say during a sales session or how to say it or closing techniques. I didn't teach them any of the sales skills. They knew those coming in. I taught them how to dial in their psychology for maximum performance. So going back to our client in Louisiana, they grew their business revenue by 50% during the pandemic while competitors shrank. The wild part was they also grew their net profit by 195% at the exact same time. It's like tending to a fruit tree. Coaching doesn't make the branches grow. It ensures sweeter, more plentiful fruit. Research backs it. Coaching increases performance most for average performers. So I always say if you draw a bell curve, you have your top 20% of people who absolutely dominate by themselves. You've got your middle, let's say, I don't know, 50% of people, right? And they do pretty good, pretty consistent. And then you have your bottom 20% of people who they find a way to struggle no matter what the circumstance. The market could be screaming straight up and they'll still find a way to come in the bottom 20%. And so those average people in the middle, regular ongoing coaching will start to nudge a couple up. I love doing math with business owners. I always ask them really simply, identify how much revenue is coming in per month. How many sales are your top 20% of sales reps making? Identify, divide that. Let's say it's 100 sales reps. You have 20 of them crushing it. Let's say out of 20 of them, each of them is bringing in $1 million a month each. What about your average people? How much do they bring in? 200 grand, 300 grand. I said, here's what's crazy. What if I could get 3 or 4 average performers to nudge up into the top performer and go from 300 grand a month to $1 million a month, like your top 20%? Shoot, that's $700,000-$800,000 a month more revenue per person just by getting a couple of them to nudge up. That's a massive difference we can make by moving a couple people out of the average group into the extraordinary group, into the top performers. Managers who coach regularly regularly at least 3 times a month have a 75% plus of their reps hitting quota. So when you have a sales manager who's also getting coaching themselves, their reps tend to hit more. 57% of employees leave companies because of poor management. So it also becomes a retention tool where when you're coaching up your managers, they retain more of your team. Another way to think about this is hidden turnover kills momentum, but coaching doesn't make them. It gives them the tools that they can help their team feel more seen, more supported, more successful. It increases their EQ, emotional intelligence. Tie it back to the study real quick. So the DDI study, 57% of people quit due to bad managers. Coaching equals lower attrition and higher loyalty when done correctly. And it saves thousands per employee and boosts the overall morale when there's regular coaching going on inside of an organization. Action steps, what you can do from today. Number 1, audit your coaching time. Are you having a regular 2 to 4 sessions a month, every person on the team getting regular coaching to improve themselves? Number 2, do you have measurable goals for performance and margin growth? There's no way we could have grown the company 2,600% if we weren't aiming for it. Doesn't happen by accident. There's no way Dean and Barb would have grown their business by 50% if we weren't aiming for it. Same thing with my friend in Washington. He wouldn't have grown his business from 20 grand a month of profit to over 250 grand a month of profit if we weren't aiming for it. So set measurable goals for performance and margin growth. Number 3, combine coaching with structured skill training. If you have skill trainers already, people teaching what to say, when to say it, how to say it, the fundamentals, the skills, then you want to mirror that and match that up with psychology, performance training. That's us. And number 4, track your flywheel. Clarity leads to strategy, accountability, skills, and execution. You don't need a new product. You probably need a better coach in your organization. If you're an entrepreneur, sales leader, or consultant who's ready to stop guessing and start growing, coaching just isn't a luxury. It's your growth engine. If you want to experience what's coaching like with us as far as business, DM me the word business growth, and I'll give you a link. We can book a strategy session, and you and I can have a chat about your business, see what's going on, and get you and your team some coaching so we can drive those results. If you know someone who needs this, tag them in it. I'd love to work with them. I'll be back in a few minutes to do some growth mindset training for you all. But I thought I'd throw this out there today. I think it's important. I've seen a lot of companies struggle. We can help a ton with driving results. We've done it before. We're happy to do it with you. DM me business growth, and I'd be happy to set up a session.